We're live. Guys, hello. This is my first live, so bear with me as I try this out. I did a live earlier on Instagram and I was outside in full sunlight, not honoring my cave's environment like I am now, nor was I honoring my indirect light, nor really my quad brightness. So that's what I'm going to do here, and thank you for being in the experiment with me. So I don't know if anybody will join live. We'll see. Doesn't matter. If you're watching the replay, there's a few things that have come through that I'd like to share with you. And I'm setting the intention to really explore my quad rightness. I think we may have someone live. Hello. So just leaning into the quad rightness, which I'm really learning now through experimentation, that I'm a witness to the quad rightness just as much as anybody else that's listening is. And the joy of being a quad right is letting it come through me, and that brings fulfillment. Hello there. Hi. So, a little bit of communication back and forth as well for those that are joining in. Curious how your full moon week has been. I've been talking to a lot of people, clients, and friends, and everybody's had a full moon week. One of the comments I got was it was an energetically full week. So for anybody's there, if you feel called to share, I invite you to share what your full moon was like. So for those joining, curious how your full moon week was. Full moon in Sagittarius, this is that fire. I don't know about you guys, but for me, it was a full week. Also, a lot of movement. Funny enough, I had a very important meeting set on the full moon. Wasn't aware it was going to be the full moon, and it actually led me to get clarity on something that's been really important to me that's been in the air for months, and it happened on the full moon. Another thing is doing the things that are scary. And they're scary just because we're not used to doing them, including this live. I've never done a live, so thank you for being in the experiment with me, guys. Hi. So that's something as well. And I don't know how many of you are projectors out there. But there's been this message been coming through that I know isn't just for me, it's for everybody. And that's share your gifts. Sharing your gifts, be seen. And being a projector, yeah, being seen comes with all it's a loaded thing, not just for projectors, any type really, but for us, we're meant to be seen and recognized. Our auras are designed to be seen and recognized as projectors. So what is it that people see in you? What are you invited into? And one of the things that's coming through now that I'm seeing a lot, and I'm how do I say this? It happens to me as well, is this idea of this conditioned direction or path that we take, particularly in career. We do something that goes contrary to our inner authority, where we do something because we think it's the right thing to do, because we're good at it, or because it makes money, but it's not actually what we're being called to do. And then being redirected. Right? This is where inner authority comes in, being able to follow our authority to where it's correct for us, where the invitations are. I'm curious to anybody that's watching either the replay or is live, if this resonates at all and how you've been navigating that. I find myself in that right now, just in terms of my career, my mission business, my calling, right? I used to be living the corporate path. I'm now 38, and I've changed paths. My splenic authority was like, this isn't right, this isn't your path, and choosing another path. And it's uncertain, and the mind, the ego, the not self wants certainty, and that's what human design is really here for. It's an operating manual specific to you that guides you back to your inner authority, that will truly tell you and lead you rather to what's right, what's correct, what's aligned. Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. To force play projector, hey brother. So getting that share that. Oh, sorry for that. So yeah, just things that have come up this week that make you feel uninvited in work, your apartment, right? And not sure if you just gotta stay silent. And there's a beautiful thing that has come up that I wanted to share with you too, brother, and anybody else out there. Is this idea of faith being the main attitude to adopt as a projector. And what it really means is to stay silent in those moments, in the gap between the old and the new. And the analogy was like if you plant a seed, and instead of just like trusting it's gonna grow and watering it and giving it the right amount of sunlight and nutrients, we dig it up every day trying to see, hey, has it sprouted roots yet? But every time we do that, we just disturb it, right? So it's this idea of just having faith, and I'm in one of those moments too, and I'm wondering if that resonates with any of you out there as well. This idea of faith that the right invitations are going to come, faith that we're going to be seen and recognized, and not doing things from fear. And that's another thing I wanted to share with you guys that's been coming up a lot for me. I'm curious if this resonates. Is this idea of, and I don't know if it's a splenic authority thing, but this idea of, and I feel it lately as I'm making these important decisions in my life. There's a path that flows and a path that just doesn't flow. And even though it makes sense to go this way mentally, logically, there's just something that it doesn't feel like it's flowing. And this way flows. And it's easeful. It doesn't mean that it's not scary or it doesn't demand courage or it's outside comfort zone, but it's the path of least resistance. Right? Or at least from the outside, that's where the invitations come in. And I'm noticing it now more than ever. And again, being asked to be quiet and have faith that things are going to evolve the way they're meant to. And it's never going to look the way we think it's going to look. And again, this is where that the mind is just going to scream, right? And we can't, I say we, I say I'm just discovering like I can argue with the mind all day, the not self, but it's just not going to go away. So this is where that trust comes in, and particularly as a splenic authority. And I think it was you, Sam. I forgot your name. I don't know if I can see it. It's a little hard to maneuver this still, but or S, I think it's S. Just really sitting in that silence, really sitting in that spaciousness, because that's the whole projected thing, is to create space, and creating space too, because if there's no space, nothing new can enter. Whether that's career or anything like that, there is just this surrender that is required as projectors more than ever. And in one of the videos, I got a comment like, "How am I supposed to make money?" Self-projector, projector. Got your brother. That's right. Well, I'm particularly as self-projected. Being able to speak your truth, right? Being a witness to what comes out of your mouth and trusting that, even though it might be like, well, what the heck was that? Like, it just came out. Just like the spleen, right? The splenic authority, it's cold, it's non-rational, it doesn't repeat itself, it just demands trust. I remember my partner asked me once, I was just kind of feeling lost on where to go. As anybody that's been watching the channel, I've been traveling quite a bit. Like, where do I go next? And she asked a beautiful open question. She said, what place in the world feels most life-giving right now? And my spleen just went. At that time, Costa Rica. I had received an invitation to go there. I used to live there as well. And I got up and I literally just booked a ticket right there and then. Now, within human design too, there is the right decision and the right time. For example, is it the right decision to go to Costa Rica? Yes. Should I book the ticket right now? I don't know. And that's where it's just subtle. Self-projected, hear yourself speak, right? Emotional clarity, this idea of getting this clarity that's not emotional. It's not up, it's not down, but there's just this body knowing that it's the right decision, right? And if there are non-projectors out there, it is strategy and authority, right? That's the only thing that we can really rely on, particularly as the world is changing so quickly. And 2027 is around the corner. The energies are shifting. Hi, Jasmine. So yeah, just forever still live. If there's anything you feel called to share based on what's coming up, what's been coming up for you, what's alive for you. I started with the full moon that a lot of people are reporting that this past week has been energetically full. A lot happening. I don't know how it's coming across for you guys. Again, this fire starting things up. And this call to share gifts and just be seen and see what comes through and be the experiment. And, even now, I feel a little bit of something just being here live with you guys. And that's just being seen too. I wonder how does the theme of being seen play out for you right now? Where are you at with being seen? Putting yourself out there so you can be found and invited, really, right? Recognized and invited. So something that's coming through there too. What else wants to come through? I've covered a few of the themes already. Just to recap, one is this easefulness, a path that feels easeful, that feels open. That's where the energy is, and where it's not. And knowing it takes time, no matter what your authority is, to get clarity on that, because it's, again, right decision, right time. No matter if you're splenic or not, right? Or sacral or anything like that. This idea of faith and trust that, if you're planting a seed for something to grow, if you're digging it up every day, looking if it's sprouted roots, it's not going to do anything for you. Right? You're just going to keep disturbing it, and I'm guilty of that. Whenever I feel like I'm making decisions from fear, not from love, I get stuck. And I don't know how many of you are familiar with A Course in Miracles. It's been something that's been huge for me. A Course in Miracles, it's mind training. It's a course in mind training, and it says there's only two emotions that we experience: love and fear. And love was given to us and is always there, and fear is something that we created, right? So being able to be in love, to follow love, and what do I mean with love? I mean accepting. And that's another thing. Someone told me the other day, a good friend of mine, a manifestor friend of mine, and we've been supporting each other on our journey since last year, and I've seen her make major moves as a manifestor. And, she said the most peaceful people are able to hold and accept two opposing truths at once. So, I don't know, maybe it's money related. Can I accept that money isn't where I want it to be right now? Yeah. Is there a part of me that has a hard time accepting that? Yeah. Can I accept that I have a hard time with that? Yeah. And she goes a step further. Can I accept that I have a hard time with this? Can I accept this 5%? Yeah, I can accept 5% that I have a hard time with this. 20%. Yeah. 50%. Yeah. 60. Oh, now it starts getting, I feel something in my body. It's like, can I accept that that's where I am right now? Yeah. And so, again, this accepting and holding two truths at once. Because we do live in a dualistic world. So that's just brought a lot of peace to me lately. And yeah, and then another thing that came up is just there is no shortcut for courage. I'm talking about things being easeful. Jasmine, I'm just seeing what you're saying. You said, I think I'm tired of being seen and recognized but not invited, as being too much for the opportunity. I believe it's the time I invite myself because I'm already self recognized and seen. And that's everything, right? That's the thing that Richard Rudd shared in one of his texts. He said the number one thing to remember as a projector is, if there's one tip, if there's anything to remember, it's to be able to walk into a room not needing anything from anybody, and that makes you magnetic. And I've experienced that many times in my life, both sides, where I gotta be honest, I walk into a room wanting to be recognized and seen and validated, and other times I don't. And when I truly don't, and I know that to be true in myself, because you can't kid yourself in your mind, right? Whenever I do that, things do shift and things do change. And then what comes up too, Jasmine, I wonder how you feel about anybody else watching, when you're a projector, you want to make things work, right, and happen, wherever you are out, wherever you are in life or in a career, like you have a 9 to 5, for example, right? And you're just like, I had a comment, like, I'm sick of the 9 to 5 and everybody's telling me to just be, and how the heck do I pay my bills? Very fair. And I know in the beginning of this year, I was pushing, I was hustling, I was just like every day sitting there creating stuff, and it just didn't go anywhere. Because it's meant to be easeful, right? If I'm chasing it, in particular as projectors, we're so sensitive to vibration and frequency, right? This response to how we're showing up. And I know in my life, whenever I do less, more happens. I remember at the time with my generator partner, she was like, "D, this is really working for you. Like this, not doing stuff. Like it's really working for you. Things are happening," and they were. Invitations were coming, and yet we're so conditioned to always be hustling and doing things. And if we're not doing anything, we're falling behind, and then exhaustion sets in. And I'll be honest, I'm feeling a little bit too. I mean, you can see it here in my eyes, right? Like this whole week, spending some time with a friend, basically ended up being a 10-day retreat where we did energetic work, inner work, outer work, creative work. We painted his house. We cleared ourselves. We went deep. We were honest with ourselves and witnessed by the other. We played music. We were creative. And now I'm being asked to rest, right? And yet here I am. At the same time, it's like, well, I want to share, and I can take my rest, this week too. And again, this being a full energetic week for many people, it is an invitation to rest. Yeah, just not being hard on myself to have to, for example, like I'll share this with you guys. There's a voice in my head that's like, you need to be consuming content, human design content, because you need to be sharing. Need to, should be, all this language is, it, I don't know if any of you are familiar with Nonviolent Communication, NVC, by Marshall Rosenberg, but he implies that any language that implies wrongness is inherently violent. So should anything like that, whether we say it to somebody else or it's that voice in our head talking to ourselves, it's friction. It splits the mind, right? And it just leads to, honestly, it just makes me unhappy. It makes me bitter as a projector. I feel bitter because it's never enough. Because then I'm in the doing. I don't know if this resonates with any of you guys, but this is my experience. Living that one and that heavy line 3 activations that I have in my design, right? Line 3, all about finding out what works and doesn't work from experience. Wisdom from experience, right? And then the one doing the research. And yesterday flying, I was listening to recording on the 5-1 by Lavina Archers. If any of you are familiar with her, she has a channel, Human Design Mastery. I did one of my semesters of education with her. She's fantastic. So any of you listening, if you're looking for another source, she's a great one. Lavina Archers, Human Design Mastery. And she was mentioning with the 5-1, the 1 is all about being your own authority, right? I don't know if any of you are ones out there. I know one of you, you're 2-4. For those that are live, if you feel called, can you just share your type and authority, just to get a little bit of idea of who's here? I'd be curious to know. Yeah, just that one, and really living being my own authority. That's part of the journey too. Is sometimes I share because I'm excited, but I haven't really gone to the depths of it and established that solid foundation of knowing through the one. Because one, I'm excited to share it, but I also just want to be seen. We got a 1-3. My partner's a 1-3. Do you? Yeah, Sarah. Just curious. With being that one, do you feel that being your own authority, basically, to me, my understanding of that is like whatever you're studying, and a 5-1 as well. Well, then Jasmine, for you with that unconscious one, being your own authority first, and from that place being able to share. How is that showing up in your life? If you feel called to share, no need to if you don't want to. But one of the beautiful things being on this channel and having this channel and this platform and this community is that we're able to share. And I always love all the comments coming in, and I know it's valuable not only to me as a that doing that research, but also just really understanding what are people living out there, and for other people to see that too, right? Splenic 1-3 projector. What's up? Okay, so we got a lot of ones in the house. Yeah. What's your experience with being your own authority? And just wanted to share a little bit of what that's been like for me here, being a 5-1. Being a 5-1, we're meant to take little things from all systems and taking these ingredients, making something new, universalizing it, and sharing it as a practical solution to an ongoing problem for people in the world, right? That's the idea of the 5-1. And it's always giving your own sauce to it. And I know for me, sometimes I feel I'll put myself in the human design box, but really I'm interested in so many things, right? Human design, gene keys, astrology as a whole, A Course in Miracles, Byron Katie's work, um, all kinds of things. Really, it's just whatever feels like it actually leads to something practical. Nonviolent communication being another, right? So all these things. Another question I want to ask, again, to those live and also those watching later on. How, what is your experience with just being seen and recognized in general? Just being seen and recognized. Do you feel overall in your life that you've been seen and recognized? I talk a lot about tribe, and a lot of people are saying, I've never had that tribe feeling, or I've never truly been recognized or seen. And it's tricky because, and this is something that I've shared in one of the videos, there's a difference between being unconditionally loved and being seen and recognized. And meaning that you can have friends and family that you love and they love you, they accept you unconditionally. But if you ask, are you seen and recognized by them? The answer would be no. Because true recognition, my experience, is undeniable. True recognition as a projector is undeniable. And it sucks sometimes when it's not there. And I'm just being human and honest about it. And I'm in a journey now more and more where I just accept it, right? And that's the beautiful thing, because it's not personal, it's mechanical. Yeah, advice from others automatically makes me cringe. I react physically. I take it. I value the help, but I can feel myself rejecting it on a physical level. Yeah. And that's as a projector, right? Yeah, as a 2-4. Yeah. And that's the thing too, right? Especially as a 2-4 too. Like my brother's a 2-4. I know a lot of 2-4s in my life. That you're this natural genius, this easy breezy genius, that it's hard for you to determine what your gifts actually are. I don't know if this is the case for you, right? I'm just saying that this is for anybody watching out there too, or the recording or wherever you are at, that often the 2-4 needs to be, their natural gifts and talents need to be recognized and called out by others, particularly their network, right? The 4 being an influencer in the network. And often the 2-4 doesn't know what they're good at. Again, it takes other people to call it out because it comes so naturally that you don't know, right? But yeah, recognition is huge. And then again, this is a big theme. I've not made a video on this, but it's not personal, it's mechanical. And whether you are a projector or not, or it's you're a sacral authority, a generator, right? Or emotional clarity too, when something looks so good and you wish you could have it, but your your emotional authority is telling you every day more and more, no, this isn't it, this isn't right. And then it's like, oh well, fuck. When is it coming then, right? When is the thing that I'm waiting for coming my way? But yeah, just to go back to it, again, as a projector, recognition is everything. And when you're with the right people, you know it because they see you and things are easy. Your creativity just gets activated. It's I have one buddy that I work with. I have a couple of people actually. I'm fortunate to know many people, and yet there's only a handful of people that, mechanically speaking, and it's an undeniable feeling, they recognize me, and I know it because they pull something out of me. That's a different voice. And it's something that Richard Rudd says too. He says, next to every single successful projector, you'll find somebody else right there in their aura because it activates something in you as a projector. And the same thing is true for a generator too, right? Generators are meant to be in relation to the other because it gives them something to respond to. Because response for a generator or a manifesting generator can never come from the mind. It has to come from outside the aura, right? That's also where a projector can come in and ask those powerful questions that lead to that proper response. And for a manifester too, like it's almost like this vision that hits you, like, oh, and it activates your energetic system. Oh, I got to do this, right? And then for a reflector, being in a space where you're in the heart of the community and it feels right because you reflect the community back to itself. So if the community is not feeling well, you're not going to feel well. If the community is thriving and balanced, you're going to feel that, well, that surprise, that pleasant surprise, right? So yeah, for the projector, it's all about recognition. Lean into the spaces and faces where you feel seen, where you're recognized, because otherwise it's a bitter journey. And it can be a really successful one. And again, I'm grateful that I have several people that I'm just like, it just brings something out of me. And again, it's mechanical. Same for my partner. Like, from the moment I met her, there was something different about her, and we've been friends for years. And there was just something different. And it wasn't my mind making up, it was just there. It's all mechanics. And that's why it's also so important that as projectors or anybody that we share, because whoever is meant to respond to it or hear it or be triggered by it, it's all just mechanical. Um, Raw who says we're all kind of helpless in this. There's a little bit of a helplessness. Um, I'd just like to see it as surrender, and that things in many ways are meant to be, and yet we're not victims of that. We are co-creating within the space and being that passenger consciousness, because that's the whole idea of human design, is that we become a passenger consciousness, no matter what your type or design is or your authority is. That's what it's about, right? And I'm learning that now in what I'm navigating. It doesn't always make sense, but not in the moment, but in retrospect, it makes sense in hindsight. So, yeah, guys. Well, I don't know who's been here for the whole journey, but for this whole life. But thank you for being here. I think I'll leave it at this, unless there's just something anybody wants to share or just a question somebody wants to throw out there. So I just want to open up the space if anybody just either a reflection or a question. If not, I'll leave it here for now. For those that are joining in now, you can just watch the replay of this. And if you are watching this, yeah, curious if you'd like more of these lives. I'll probably end up doing them anyway, but just curious if this has been valuable to you. I know our time is precious and it's sacred. So, Jasmine, thank you for being here. Thank you, guys. Thank you all. And yeah, catch you on the next one. I got some exciting things coming up. So for anybody watching this too, sign up to the newsletter. I say that I'm really big on not spamming. I just want to share whenever something's actually worth sharing as far as I'm concerned. It's my way of being able to reach you guys, being able to do community events, bringing people together. I know the calling for tribe is big. People feel alone out there. It's there's just a lot happening. And knowing that you're not alone, particularly as a projector, really any type, knowing you're not alone, that even though you have to take the steps on your own, you don't have to journey alone, is huge. So I've done them in the past. I've done them in person many times and online as well, and I'd love to bring that back. So this is my way of being able to reach you. So you can find the newsletter link. I'll post it here as well later on, but you can find it at the bottom of any of my videos. Again, I won't spam you guys. I'll just share whenever there's something worth sharing. So appreciate you guys. So much love for you. Please comment, share any insights or reflections or experiences, anything you feel is relevant, anything you want to be heard and witnessed in, please go ahead and share in the comments, and I'll see you on the next one. Thanks, guys. Much love. Bye.